Sensory-motor psychotherapy was developed by Pat Ogden, and this particular psychotherapy do show end results in empirical studies. And sensory-motor psychotherapy is based, it's a body-oriented therapy. And so I'm saying a body-oriented therapy, what's a body-oriented therapy? So body-oriented therapy is based on the mindfulness, getting in tune with the body. Sensory-motor psychotherapy is called that because it accesses trauma on a sensory-motor level where the trauma is stored. An example of that would be after the Vietnam War. Many of the veterans in the United States had PTSD, or post-traumatic stress disorder. So if they would hear maybe like a car backfiring, suddenly they would hit the deck or just stop what they were doing. If they're driving a car, of course, that'd be so dangerous, but they would just fall to the ground and without thinking it, without actually any ability to control what they did. And that's because that was stored on a sensory-motor level. And so the theory behind sensory-motor psychotherapy has to do with memories stored in the sensory-motor system, in the brainstem, as well as on a cellular level and in the nerves of the body. The nice thing about sensory-motor psychotherapy, or SP as sometimes it's called, is it's a gentler, slower process, which helps people significantly because a little piece at a time is taken and processed through, which makes it far easier for the person to be able to work through the trauma, therefore bringing about results that are far more pleasing to the individual. Pierre Janet, a psychologist of the early 20th century in France, one of the first psychologists studying trauma and its effects on patients, said this: "The patients affected by traumatic memory have not been able to perform any of the actions characteristics of the stages of triumph." And you might be saying, well, what does that actually mean? It's that when we get traumatized, we get stuck. The trauma is stuck there because we became powerless in that midst of that situation. And so we couldn't move out of the powerlessness. So there needs to come an accompanying action that would give us triumph, or that sense of victory or being able to overcome in the situation. And that's what usually moves us out of a position of defeat to a position of triumph. And I think that's a good way of just kind of encapsulating the idea of trauma that's held in the body. The principle behind sensory-motor psychotherapy is the ability to access the trauma in the body using mindfulness. It's done through 5 stages in the entire process. First is building the container. That has to do with developing the relationship with the client and understanding each other and understanding the process and facilitating boundaries, and including also psychoeducation. The second of that has to do with accessing the traumatic memory, accessing those parts that help them in the midst of this traumatic memory. And the third would be processing through this traumatic memory. And it's oftentimes done through, not just through awareness of emotion, but primarily with the body and what the body wants to do that it couldn't do. And so sometimes props are used. It incorporates some of the mindfulness that's within yoga as well, but it helps to bring the next stage, which is transformation, where a person begins to actually feel differently on an emotional and also on a body or somatic level. And then we want to integrate that new experience into them so that they can then, each person can move forward in feeling far more wholesome and fulfilled in their life. For more information about sensory-motor psychotherapy, you can go to www.sensorymotorpsychotherapy.org or visit our website at www.newhopecounseling.com.